Hey, everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with my co host, Donald Wills, and we are here for another film discussion. And today we are talking about zombies. It could be any zombie, it could be any film, it could be fast zombies, slow zombies, it could be zombies using a hammer, it could be anything. It could be animated, a TV series, a book, it could be anything. That's the whole idea of these videos for film discussion, is that we just can talk about everything, and it's fine. There's no rules or anything. So let's get into it. So Donald, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, bud, but there's one thing we have to mention.
What's that?
There's only one rule to this, that we have to at least know what we're talking about.
That's true. And there will be people that will disagree with us, because not everybody is going to like running zombies or like slow moving zombies or like with zombies that use a wrench. So yeah, not everybody's going to agree, but I feel that we know what we're talking about. So zombies are my
I
favorite.
sure hope so.
So do I. Well, we'll find out if people leave comments. So but zombies are my favorite. They've been my favorite. And I probably own more zombie movies, and that's lumping in everything: rage zombies, all that type of stuff, voodoo zombies, everything. I have like two shelves, and they're like doubled. And to me, zombies terrify me. It's actually something that scares me, and people have laughed at me because I do believe a zombie apocalypse could happen. If if you look at something like The Stand, which doesn't have zombies, but it's got the virus, Captain Trips, our government could release the virus, COVID, or something, could be man-made or whatever it is, and kill us all. So why
Yeah.
couldn't they create something that when somebody dies, they come back? And you may have to kill your mother or your wife or your son or whoever it might be who's infected. And to me, that is scary. Your kid coming to kill you and wanting to eat you, to me is frightening. Almost like the
Yeah.
psychopath that lives next door type of thing. So I don't know. People laugh, and that's fine, but I do believe a zombie apocalypse could happen. What about you?
I mean, maybe. I mean, definitely sounds more like the how do I want to say this? More believable of the all the monsters of the, if you know what I'm saying. Like definitely like a virus that could probably reanimate you. It sounds more believable. I mean, whether you believe in zombies or not, that's I mean, you know what I mean. So
Right.
I mean, but it's, didn't we have a like a drug that was going on down in Florida that was making people act like
Yeah,
zombies and
it
stuff
was
like
the
that?
bath salts, the Flocka.
Yeah, yeah,
Is I
that's
don't
what
know
it
if it has
was.
the longer Flocka drug or something like that, but it was
Hmm.
the bath salts, and they were
Yeah,
going crazy and eating people. They were biting them.
yeah. So I mean, are these movies far fetched, or are they kind of telling us, hey, this is the crap we can go through at any time?
Well, that's why they're very political. Because what is it? It's always a scientist or a government official or a mayor or something like that, that turns whatever happens, if it's something in the water, something in the air,
Yeah,
Return of the Living Dead, where all he does is James Cameron, he just hits the side of it and all that shit flows all over them, and at the end, our government drops a bomb on them. So it's all very, very political, which is why I think something like this could really happen. And a lot of these things we don't ever find out what happened. Something like The Walking Dead, they said was actually created from Breaking Bad. Is that somebody was using Walter White's drug, and you could see it in Fear the Walking Dead in the first episode. Is they have that blue, those like blue crystal things, and the next thing you know, they turn into a zombie. And AMC confirmed it, that Breaking Bad is a prequel to The Walking Dead. So now I don't know if they altered that at all, because I never finished Walking Dead. I stopped watching Fear and all that. So I don't know if they changed it, but at the time when I was watching it, and it was probably a joke, but still AMC confirmed that Walking Dead is the prequel.
I mean, I never would have put two and two together, but I mean, I could see it though. I mean, come on. Is Walter White the reason that the virus happened? And I haven't watched too far into The Walking Dead, so I'm not. I mean, I know the characters, but I'm not too familiar with the story. But I do, from what I understand, there was like a patient zero at one point or something like that.
Yeah, during the first season, they in the final episode, it's either the second or the last final episode is where the guy says it's airborne, that everybody is already infected.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that was Walter White that came up with the zombie infection. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, it's all up in the air. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's AMC, so
Yeah,
they created both The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. So why not just make it one big universe?
sure. What they need is at some point for like Jesse or somebody to be on Walking Dead just to connect it and apologize to the survivors, would be like, I can't believe that this is my fault. This is Walter's fault. That's they just need to have that little cameo in there with him, and I think that would be funny.
I can't believe Mr. White was such a jerkwad that created this thing.
I
I
just
should have
wanted to
never
get
taught him how to
high.
break bad. I should have never taught him how to break bad.
Yeah, break. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that's and maybe some of it has to do with when I was a kid. I think the original Night of the Living Dead is probably the first zombie film that I've seen. I know I saw like White Zombie with Bela Lugosi, but that's voodoo, so that didn't really scare me. But I think like late night horror host, creature features with Bob Wilkins and John Stanley, I think that's where I first saw Night of the Living Dead, and that would even have been edited, most likely, since it has nudity and stuff in it, and that still scared me. So maybe that's where my fear of zombies come in. What about you? What was your first experience with zombies?
My first experience with zombies was actually when I was a little kid. Um, my cousin used to play all the Resident Evil games, like one right after the other. And I was a little too young to be watching these things, but I had a fascination with it. So I was like, all right, well, I didn't understand it. And, it wasn't until my uncle had to sit down and explain it to me that, hey, the bad guys are zombies. So you have to kill them or they will eat you.
There you
Yeah,
go.
my uncle was kind of like that one uncle that slowly explains things to you, and it's like I'm not that stupid now. but
Well,
but
my cousin Tim and I tried to convince my uncle, his dad, to watch The Walking Dead when it first came out, because they really were promoting it as the zombies aren't the villains. Humans are the villains. The zombies are just in the background.
yeah,
They're just like an obstacle to get by. But it's
yeah,
the humans that are the real threat. And I liked that, but I think that kind of disappeared as it went on. So,
yeah. I mean, when it first started, it was like, hey, who are the real villains, us or them? And in reality, as the show went on, from what I understand, it really starts to show you um the darkness of humans, like really what how far are we willing to go to survive. And that's what I liked about it, but then they kind of went off on their own
well,
thing.
they were kind of following, for the most part, the comic book, because I was reading once the show started, I was reading the comic book along with the show, and
Yeah,
a lot of it's the same. They didn't change a lot until
they
it
killed
was
Carl.
yeah, that's when it because he then started to defend Negan, and I kept him downstairs in that closet, kind of like that cell area,
Mm-hmm.
and almost kind of looking at him as like almost like a father figure in a way.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay, well, all right. So, and then I heard that they fired him because he was like a dick, but yet the actor's like, no, I don't know why they canned me. They just seem to do this to actors. They told me I was in the next season. I just bought my mom and dad a house, and they got rid of me. And yeah, who knows? I mean, that was, and then there was the fake stuff with Glenn where he like rolls under the dumpster that's like this high that a human could actually go under, and they faked everything for us. And that's where I lost faith in the
Yeah.
show.
I
So
mean, from what I understand, like for up to a certain point, they were actually being uh, like scene for scene, well, almost scene for scene with the comic books, and then I think the only thing that they actually did right with Carl is Carl did lose an eye in the
right.
comics, but then also Rick ended up losing his arm at one point. He had I think he had a hook or something in his arm or something along on his hand, which
Oh, I didn't get
ended
that
up.
far. I stopped.
I've never read it, so I can't tell you that for sure. I just know from what people have told me. So unless they're blowing smoke up my rear end, I mean,
Well, yeah, I think, and people can correct me on this, but I think Rick dies because then Carl and Michonne go off together in the comics,
something like
and
that. Yeah.
yeah, and that's not where the series went. And when they killed Rick, which I kind of didn't have a problem with, but the show is centered around his point of view. And
They didn't really kill Rick.
well,
Rick kind of survives.
we heard that they were going to kill him, that he was going to die, and then it came out that only the characters thought he died.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, and he got picked up by the helicopter, and then they were going to do like 3 movies with Rick in them. And it's like, oh god, come on, guys, do you really, can you just not die? Can you? And
They were trying to milk it because they know how successful the show is. That's why they were doing Fear the Walking Dead. Then there was something else that they did, and then they were doing like a webisodes or something like that for a
yeah,
while, and then they were talking about doing like a spin-off show, um possibly a prequel from Michonne or something. I was like, come on, people, like just stop milking something. If it's overstayed its welcome, it's time to let the series die, for God's sakes.
and it died a while back. I mean, Rick was badass for a long time, like ripping a guy's neck open with his teeth. You had Michonne that was out there with the samurai swords, and
Oh
now
yeah.
they're soft. They're all just, I don't know, they're not the same people. What made me stop watching the show was Maggie left, and we heard that it was with the actress, it was a financial thing. She wanted more money because now her name was down here and now it's up here. So she's like, well, since I'm one of the only remaining cast members, I should get paid more money. And AMC's like, bye, bye. So she leaves. They do that time jump. And all of a sudden these guys go into that community that was there that they took over.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys come in and go, who's in charge here? Who's the boss? Who do I talk to? And the camera pans down, and it's Judith with the hat, the sheriff's hat. And she goes, I'm in charge. And I went, oh, I'm done. And I clicked it right off. I didn't even finish the episode. And I don't know if somebody walked up 5 minutes later and said, no, I'm actually in charge. She's just a kid. But I'm like, seriously? This is how you start the episode, is with like a 10-year-old saying that she's in charge? We're now going to listen to Judith?
I mean, I think from what I understand, the comic books actually, when I guess dies or leaves or whatever, Carl actually took over for took became the leader after that.
That would
So
make sense because of his age.
yeah, so I'm thinking maybe they were trying to make her the Carl, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, because she
I
then
stopped
gets involved
watch
with Negan. Yeah.
I stopped watching it after I stopped pretty early on because everyone was a bunch of jerks, man. Every 5 minutes, hey, the governor finally died. Why would you tell me that? Why? Shut up,
Oh, you mean like
people.
online people, like
Oh
doing the
no, no,
spoilers?
even my own family was like, I
Ah,
was so happy when they killed the governor or whatever his name is
yeah,
from
the
the third
governor.
season. I'm
Yeah.
like, why would you tell me that? I didn't even watch it yet. Shut up.
Well, now
So
see,
that's why.
that's when they were still kind of following the comics. So if you watched,
Mhm.
even though they altered the comics, to give you a little bit of a difference, because you
Yeah,
just don't want to watch what you just read. So they do different things. Of course, Daryl was never in the comics. He was brand new, and his
Daryl or
brother.
Merrill wasn't in there.
Yeah, and then now he's in the comics, from what I understand, or I don't know if it's still
Huh.
going, but they included him in the comics now because he's so popular. But
Hmm.
that was different and refreshing from the comic. So yeah, I think that Carl did take over, and that he was hiding Negan and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I guess now Maggie came back. I guess they worked out with the actress or the money issue, and now she's back. And she was badass for a long freaking time. And then they made her soft. And I don't get it. I don't get with the show. I think I stopped watching it to watch Fear of the Walking Dead. And I hated the first season, which was only like 6 episodes.
Hmm.
Because
But that's how the first season of The Walking Dead was. There's only
yeah,
6 episodes.
yeah, it all took place in LA, and which was fine. But I just could not. I'm like, oh, great, they went woke. So now we have the interracial marriage couple with the kids, and I'm just like, oh fuck, can it just be like a black couple or a white couple or whatever it is? Do we really have to have this diversity in here? It's kind of just, it's distracting me because I don't really understand what's going on. But once season 2 hit and they got on this boat and they start traveling down the coast, because I think they're heading to like Mexico, if I remember right, all of a sudden the show became better than Walking Dead. It
Yeah,
became like a
that's what I've heard.
true, yeah, zombie show. And then
Hmm.
is his name Morgan, the black guy
Is that
from
isn't that the one that they ran into at the first season of The Walking Dead?
the guy in the house that wanted to kill his wife, and then he's got the stick. He's like the Yoda. Is his name Morgan?
I'm not 100% on that one.
But he has the kid. The kid died. He went out on his own, and he doesn't want to kill anybody, so he just uses the stick. And he was a big part of the show. And then they moved him over to, because he had to eventually start killing people and or
Yeah.
killing zombies. And then they moved him over to Fear the Walking Dead. But I wasn't watching it then. I had stopped, because then I stopped
Okay.
watching Fear the Walking Dead to watch Z Nation, the Asylum show, which I thought was better than The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. And then that just got canceled. Like, oh, okay. All right. I don't think we ever had an ending to it. But that one was good because they did do humor, but the humor was done right. So instead of
Yeah.
having a Sharknado, they had a Zomnado that was chasing them, and they were trying to outrun all these zombies being like flying everywhere. And I'm just like, that is awesome. It's like, how can the Asylum make something better than AMC? And they did.
Didn't they make a movie called Zombie Tidal Wave or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be the new Sharknado, and it just didn't take off.
Ha.
Like somebody
Of
from
course
like
it did.
90210 is in it, or one of those shows is like the main guy. But yeah, I never watched it. So I do like
Neither did
some of their
I.
zombie films. I liked yeah, Abraham Lincoln, versus zombies I liked. I
Yeah,
liked I think it's called 2012 Zombie Apocalypse I liked. And then they have
I
one with Danny Trejo, like called something like Night of the Dead or Night of the Zombies. I forget the title of that one, but that was pretty good. So I actually like because they introduced zombie animals. And I always wondered about that. Like, can a zombie be an animal? And the Asylum, I think, were the first people to introduce like zombie tigers and zombie monkeys and all that stuff.
if I'm not mistaken, didn't they make a movie called Zombievers? That may not have been Asylum, but I think it was.
Which
There
one?
was a movie called Zombievers.
Oh yeah, yeah, there is one. Yeah,
Was that before or after?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. But I know that they did the Zombies. I think it's called Zoobies.
Zombies or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know what
there's
you're talking about.
1 and 2 where all the zombie animals were in a zoo.
Okay.
So it's like ZOO, like MBIS. So it's like
Yeah.
zoo
hmm
bees, something like that.
Yeah,
And
something
those were
like that.
fun. Yeah.
I haven't watched those yet. Those were. At one point, believe it or not, I was going to try to collect every single Asylum movie,
Oh, I was
and
doing the same. Yeah.
I just gave up because there's way too many movies.
Well, and
And they
they
sometimes make 20 movies a year, and it's like, oh my god, I don't know if I can do this.
well, and I was getting them because they were down here, they went up here, and as far as like budget and quality and all that, I'm like, okay, these are really fun. And then once the Asylum got really popular with all their sequels and everything they were doing, with like Mecha Shark and all that stuff, all of a sudden the quality went back down again. And I stopped. I said,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. These aren't fun. But I still collect them from time to time. I got those.
yeah. I mean, if I see them, I'll grab them. But if I'm not going out of my way to collect every single one of them for now.
No, no, no. So, but those were good. So, but hey, do you want to get into some of our collection?
Sure thing, man.
All right. Who wants to go first?
It doesn't matter, man. You can go ahead.
I got a lot. Do you have less than me? I have a lot.
I only have a few, so
Well, let's do you first then.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Let me grab a few. So I'm not gonna show all of them, but I do have. I'm gonna show the normal ones. Of course, you can't. Nobody can ever have a zombie movie collection without Night of the Living Dead, the
I'm mad
original.
at you. I am mad at you. You have the slipcover. Mine does not have the slipcover.
I lucked out on this one, believe it or
Uh
not.
I ordered it and then later I saw that there was a slipcover to it. I'm like, son of a bitch. But yeah, that's in my stack. So yeah, that's a great one,
Oh
of
yeah,
course. And that's a great addition to get.
yeah. That's the original film restored and remastered. What else does it have? Like there's a feature length documentary encoded with it called One for the Fire.
Yeah, which is really good.
Um, yeah, I haven't watched. I've watched the movie. Obviously, I had like a really crappy um, what do you like? Public domain releases.
I okay, I'm not gonna say anything right now. I'll wait till me about that. I have something to say about that. So okay.
Okay. but that's how I watched it. So I definitely want to at some point rewatch this at some point.
Yeah, that is the version, unless you get the Criterion Blu-ray.
Yes.
That if you
Yes.
want DVD, if you go DVD, that's the version to get, is the one that you just showed.
So I also have the Tom Savini remake.
1990. Love that remake. I even
This is a good.
I found online the work print of it, which has all the violence
Oh yeah.
that they cut out to give it an R. And so like it doesn't
Ooh.
have music and stuff like that. But there was a website for a little bit that it got taken down where all it did was have like bootleg, versions of movies or
Yeah.
fan version, and they had Night of the Living Dead 1990, and so I downloaded it, and I still have it. And there's
Nice.
on YouTube, there's a good documentary about that too. So yeah, that is one of the best remakes out there.
Awesome. And I'm not done with remakes. I also have the 2006 3D.
Yes. Do you have its sequel or the prequel?
I do not, unfortunately. But let's face it, the only reason you want to buy this or watch this is because of Sid Haig.
Sid Haig, yes.
Sid Haig, I mean, anything with Sid Haig in it, I will watch. He's like one of the very few actors.
They did oh yeah. He adds a different level to things.
He does.
And it's funny, as I put on Facebook that I watched that version, and I'm friends with the director and I don't think I realized it. And he's like, you should watch the 3D version. And I'm like, well, but my TV's not 3D. So now it is. But back then it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll sometime down the road, I'll pick it up. But the prequel, Incarnation, I think it's, or something like that. Night of Living Dead, Incarnation. And it's Jeffrey Combs and Andrew. Crap, I'm blanking on how to pronounce his last name, but the guy who played Wishmaster.
I'm not 100% sure. I've never seen that movie, so.
Well, but it's that actor, and they one of them takes over for Sid Haig, and it's how it all happens. And I lived in Pasadena for a while, and at the Cheapy house, the house that got the movies, like the big movies that were already playing for like 6 months. This was like the last place that they would play for like $2. They were playing a movie called Night of the Living Dead 3D. And it was there only for a week. And I went, why do I want to watch Night of the Living Dead in 3D? I own the movie. Not realizing it's the one you just showed. So I could have seen that in the theater in 3D. And I thought it was the original one that they did in 3D. I'm like, why do I want to watch that? Now I would go see it, but but back then it was like, So
regrets, man, regrets.
I've had a few, but too few to mention.
I also have the classic Dawn of the Dead.
Nice, great movie.
The remake, which is Zack Snyder's director debut.
Still, I'm gonna say a second best movie, but it's one of the best remakes out there. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Day of the Dead,
of course, great movie.
Hold on a minute. The remake of Day of the Dead.
I own that too, and that's the worst of the Day of the Dead remakes.
We don't talk about that version. Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead, yeah, the last good Romero movie.
Diary of the Dead, which isn't found footage.
It should have been his last film. He should have never made Survival. If he did Diary as an experiment, that's fine, whatever. But he had to make Survival, and to me, that ruined everything.
And then everybody's favorite, Survival of the Dead.
I do own it just to have the collection, but yeah, it is not a good movie. Not a good film at all. No.
Nah, and you know what the sad part is? Every time I think of Survival of the Dead, the part that scared me was the overview shot, and all of a sudden a bird flies out of nowhere, and that's what made me jump. So every time it's like, yeah, the movie scared me.
Zombie bird.
Not what you think though. And then also I got Zombie Dawn of the Dead.
That's a good one. Yep. Argento. Yep.
Zombie 2.
Yep.
And the only reason I bought the DVDs because I really wanted it to spell like that with zombie with an I.
Right.
I don't know why, but I'm weird like that. And then Zombie 3.
Yes.
So.
And there is a box set that has Zombie 3, 4, and 5 in it. So that's, if people want to pick that up, they should do the box set.
So, like I said, I have a whole bunch of movies here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. So if you want me to
Well,
speed run it,
that's kind of what I'm gonna do with my stack like that. Yeah. So
okay.
yeah,
So
you don't have to like go fast.
Resident Evil Collection. I
Nice.
mean, your favorite movies.
I love the Resident Evil films. I love Mila.
Zombex. I haven't watched this, so I can't tell
I
you
want
anything
that
about
one.
these.
I don't have it. No, I want it though. That's Malcolm
Well,
McDowell, right?
the director.
No, the actor on the front.
Yes.
Yeah, God, how the mighty have fallen.
Zombie Dream
No idea. I have no
with
idea about that.
Eric Roberts. I mean,
Oh wow. Okay.
he's in every low budget movie now anymore.
He's in lawyer commercials out here playing a judge. So some lawyer firm, got him for a day to be a judge of their commercial.
It's terrible, man. Terrible. Stalled.
Got that one. Yeah, haven't seen it, but got that one.
I don't know if this is technically a zombie movie, but it might be considered like a space zombie movie. Plagueis. I'm not sure if this is considered because it does look like a zombie on the back.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, that's Brad
You've
Sykes.
seen it?
Yeah,
I know that's like the only reason I bought it was because it was Brad Sykes.
it's got a good audio commentary from him and his wife.
There you go. Yummy.
Now, is that based on the Justin Bieber song?
Oh God, I hope not.
I own Yummy.
One Cut of the Dead.
Yes, I have not seen it, but I've heard it is very good.
I have some more in the top 5 and top worst, but I won't go into until we go there. But rest assured, I do have 28 Days Later, and this is also weeks later.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you if it's in bad, if it's in worse or good.
Ah,
Zombieland.
yes. Own that one too.
Virus of the Dead.
Got that
Haven't
one. Yep.
watched it. Haven't watched it.
Anthology film.
Infected.
No, do not have that one. Do not know it.
Dead Sight.
Yes.
The Dead Don't Die in Dallas.
No. No, I do not have that one. I like the title.
So keep in mind, Dollar Tree.
Yeah. Dollar Tree's got a lot of zombie stuff, which is awesome.
Antidote.
No, don't know it. I want
and
it.
The one I haven't watched, but I really want to watch, Bigfoot versus Zombies.
That is Mark Polonia, and it is excellent. Yes.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I mean,
that's Wild Eye releasing.
I mean, as I got with the 15. Wait, one of their sales or whatever they had. So.
Oh yeah, Wild Eye has awesome sales. Yeah, we can get them for like $5.
Oh yeah. So I also have 5 books I'll go over real quick.
Sure.
I have. This is called the Newsflash Trilogy by Mira Grant.
Oh, okay.
Starts with Feed, Deadline, and Blackout. I've read I read the first one and I audioed the last 2.
Okay.
So technically cheating, but shh, we won't tell nobody.
It's okay. Nothing wrong with it.
Under a Graveyard Sky by John Ringo.
Oh, okay.
This is a 4-book series. This is really good. There's a 14-year-old girl on here that's basically the main character's daughter. She basically, at one point, she becomes like the leader. And she's literally more mature than she actually acts. you think it ruins the story, but it actually doesn't. But I mean, my favorite line of the second book: "Effing Barbie gun."
Ah,
And of course, we can't talk about without zombies without including some Star Wars.
okay.
Death Troopers.
Really? That's zombies? I've always
That
loved that
is
cover.
that is zombies.
Zombie
Star Wars with
stormtroopers?
zombies. Yes, it is.
Why are they not making that? Why do they give
I
us
know,
shit?
right?
They give us garbage when there's an awesome sounding book out there.
Exactly. And then the author also wrote a prequel, which wasn't that great, which is called Red Harvest.
But still zombies?
It's still zombies. They're both really good. I think the thing that people didn't like about this when they tried to explain the virus
No, you don't
instead
do
of
that.
just leaving it alone. I didn't think it was that bad, but I can understand why people got upset with it.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you don't explain.
don't explain. Just let it be.
Yeah, just yeah.
Let it be a zombie virus or whatever, and let it just create people to eat people.
There you go. Exactly.
So
So
that is pretty much it. So,
okay.
except for the 5 that I'm going to show with later on.
Oh, do you want to do those now? Since we're showing all of our stuff, that your best 5?
I mean, if you want, how do you
Yeah,
want to do
yeah, because then I'll start with the best 5 when it's my
it?
turn.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All
So
right.
I'm curious of what your best 5 is. So let's see.
All right. So, in no really particular order, um, a movie that everyone will say is their worst zombie movie: Zombie Strippers.
Ah, I've never seen it.
To be honest, the only reason it's entertaining is because of Robert Englund.
Not Jenna Jameson.
Eh.
Eh.
I
I mean, it's
mean,
worth watching for Robin England, of course. Yeah.
I mean, especially the part where I guess he's the owner of the strip club, and every time the girls walk by, he goes, "Get away from me, you disease infested freak!" And as soon as she's walking away, she starts praying. So yeah, um, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
That's a good one. Yeah, I've seen that. That one's good.
So yeah, you like comedy and you like zombie movies. This is the way to go.
That's one of the better ways to do comedy in a zombie movie. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, 28 days later.
Okay, good. Yep, yep.
I mean, this is probably one of the best modern zombie movies out there. I have not yet seen 28 Weeks Later, but I have definitely on my list. But 28 Days Later, great.
28 is better, but Weeks is just as good. You know, the Days is great. Weeks is good. Yeah.
So, speaking of zombie comedies, Undead or Alive,
Don't know it.
Zombies in the West.
Okay.
Now, here's the problem that might be a turnoff for people: the zombies do talk. So, but
Oh,
that's why it's more of a comedy.
okay.
But it's pretty good. I liked it.
Okay.
And of course, probably everyone's number one, Night of the Living Dead.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I
That
mean,
is my
that's
all-time favorite zombie movie. It is my all-time favorite. It's in my top 5 for one of my favorite films of all time. Yes.
yes.
Yeah, it is great.
I mean, the one that influenced the zombie franchise.
It was the
I
first,
mean,
yeah, flesh-eating zombie. Everything before that
yeah,
was voodoo. It was
what
all voodoo.
it is now. I mean, before it was zombies, they weren't like flesh eating. They didn't maybe some of them were ate people, but it was more like just go.
I don't think so. I think before that it was all just like voodoo type zombies.
They just like came after you and just like choked you.
Yeah, or like really like a scientist would create them, would create the zombie. Like teenage zombies. They're not voodoo and they're not eating flesh, but they're dead, but a scientist brings them back to life.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. All right, so I'll show what I got, but first I'm going to show I got these a while back. This is for the Zombie Apocalypse store, which was out here in Vegas.
Nice.
And I even got like a tumbler, which has the little thing on it there, which is what I always drink when I'm doing these videos now. And I found out about this place, and what they did was they took a war surplus store and turned it into a zombie apocalypse store. So nice. The problem was, I don't think they advertised it very well. Probably the pandemic killed it. That's if it was even open till then. But the problem was they were very political. And I think it turned off a lot of people that when this is during Obama, definitely before the pandemic then, while Obama was in office, they had stuff up like where you could shoot Obama on like a target. And I'm thinking that probably turned, along with zombies and all that type of stuff, is you would have these targets that they put up, and it was a very political thing. And I think that turned people off. Like it doesn't matter what side you're on, just make it zombie apocalypse. Just make it all about zombies. Don't make it political. And I even talked to the guy about it one day, and I'm like, why is there like a picture of Obama on that Jeep? And he goes, because Obama's destroying the world. If you like him, you're destroying the world. And I'm like, okay, what does this have to do with zombies? But otherwise, it was a really cool story. Took a whole bunch of pictures in there and bought a few other things. But I thought it was really cool, minus their politics. So, which I thought was stupid. And
that's why I try to tell people is keep politics out of stuff. All politics does is ruin the best of everything.
Yeah, leave it alone. And then because I need to put these books someplace else, I'll show the two books I got. So here's the I wish it had a different cover, to be honest. I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, which is the book that pretty much started it all. This is written back in like 1954. This is what George Romero was inspired by this to do Night of the Living Dead. Stephen King was inspired by this to do the Stand and also Salem's Lot. And it is literally one of the greatest books I've ever read. Richard Matheson they've done 3 versions of this: The Last Man on Earth, The Omega Man, and then I Am Legend, which this has the cover. And none of them match the book. Last Man on Earth does to an extent, like it's 90% the book. But the ending is very different. There's a reason why it's called I Am Legend, and none of the books have done that. They've never given the ending, which is the title. But if people are interested in what started, I also have an audiobook of this too, and of kind of what started everything. This is it. This is the book, the kind of the Bible in a way. But it's great. So I got that. And then not too long ago, I thought I was buying a second edition. But I think this is the first edition, which is fine. But it's the Zombie Movies, The Ultimate Guide. Nice. And that's got one of my favorite zombie posters on it. This is from Revenge of the Zombies, which is the uncut version is, I think it's called like Zetter or Zedler, something like that. But I have it as Revenge of the Zombies, which is the American cut. And it's not bad. It's pretty thick. So I like it.
There you go. There you go.
And then, so I'll show my top 5. So, but I kind of have to explain my top 5. So what I did was I picked one film from each filmmaker that has, I think, influenced me and the zombie genre. So, because it would be so easy to just do Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Well, there's 3 right there. And so I didn't do that. So even though I do think Dawn of the Dead is one of the greatest movies ever made, it's not in my stack.
Yeah.
So one of my all-time favorite, and it is The Last Man on Earth, based on the I Am Legend novel. And it stars
Yeah.
Vincent Price. And this is a great movie, and it's very close to the book. And it's shot in Italy. It's in black and white. And there's even an interview with Matheson on here where he does talk about why can't they just make my book into a movie, like, properly? What's funny is he did write the script for this. He goes under an alias. And so he changed his own book, but yet says, why can't they just make a proper movie out of my novel? So, and the pictures that I didn't see this for a long time. There was a thick monster book, and that was like the history of horror movies. And the pictures from
Yeah.
Last Man on Earth used to give me nightmares. And then I finally saw it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as I thought when I was a kid. But this is a really, really great movie for people out there that, and get the black and white version. There's a colorized version of it. So don't watch that one.
I think when you're a kid and you see something, your imagination goes wild, and that's what
Yeah.
scares you even more than the actual movie.
yeah, because I didn't know what it was. It was like hands reaching through. Actually, the picture on it is right here, but it's like this hand going through the door, reaching for Vincent Price, and I was terrified of that picture. I don't know why. I would like skip it in the book when I'd watch it, when I go through it as a kid. And then, of course, one of my top favorite films, well, my favorite one is yours also. So Night of the Living Dead, just without the slipcase. So this is definitely the version to get on DVD. It's got a whole bunch of extras on it. So yeah, this is a great version. But now this is where I said I'm not going to say anything, because you talked about public domain. So I also own, and I'm still considering this to be one thing. So I also got Night of the Living Dead, the Criterion version. This is a great version, except the picture is so clear. You could see all the flaws. So even though this is like remastered and everything, and it looks good, this makes it look too perfect. So to me, and since a lot of people kind of look at Night of the Living Dead almost as like a documentary type of thing, kind of like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is great, but you almost don't want to watch it like this. You want to watch it like this. Like
I have that version.
Like a shitty public domain film that's all scratched up and the sound is popping, and it feels a lot like more like a documentary.
Yeah, that is the version I first saw it on.
But
that version right there.
I'm still in search of the shittiest version, because after I bought it, I realized digitally remastered. Nope, I'm still not at the shittiest version I can find. So I'm still searching for it. And then I also got for Night of the Living Dead the colorized version. So it's now, the classic is now in deadly color. And so it's one of the few films, even though this is what I consider to be the greatest zombie movie ever made and one of my favorite films ever made, I don't mind it being in color. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And
is that the one where the zombies are green or gray? Isn't there one with...
We're going to come to that one.
Oh, okay.
So they're more gray.
Okay.
And this does have so it includes the all new color version and the black and white version. So you get both.
Okay.
It does have audio commentary by Mike Nelson of Mystery Science Theater. So he's doing his little comedy thing from like Mystery Science.
Nice.
So I'm not a huge fan of his commentary, because I just don't think this is a film that you should do that with. But it's fine. It's funny. It has its moments. And now you also had this, but from a different company. Zombie.
Oh, okay.
So this is Zombie 2, which you had, which I also have, which is Shriek Show. This is Blue Underground.
Okay.
So I have both, because I wanted both. Both of them say zombie on the film itself. It's just the covers that are different because of rights issues.
Yeah.
And this is probably my favorite second. Yeah, my second favorite zombie film.
No, I didn't even know. I didn't even know what the company was called. Now that you mentioned it, it's Shriek Show. Okay.
Yeah. So I figured I would get both, and
This is also the inside of it. I never showed the inside.
yeah, that's one of the greatest posters of all time. We are going to eat
Yeah.
you. And then we have the film that brought back the zombies right before 28 Days Later, and that's the first Resident Evil. This was the first film in like 10 years that brought back, and then this kind of started the whole zombie thing. And then it got really popular with 28 Days Later. And I still think this is an awesome film. I've never played the games, so I don't know. But I'm a Paul W.S. Anderson fan. I love Mila. She's my favorite. She's my number one. And I don't care if it doesn't match the games. She's gorgeous to look at. So
hey, at least he was trying to stick be loyal to the source material, unlike some people that
he is a fan.
So exactly, that's what I'm saying. At least he was trying to be faithful. I mean, maybe the third one he kind of went off on his own, but hey, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, if you want to think really bad adaptations, look at the Super Mario Brothers movie. I mean, let's be real here.
Why? Just because a British guy and a Hispanic guy play two Italians? That's not offensive. Also, one thing that I love about Mila, she married a geek. She really is a nerd's wet dream. I mean, she's an actress, she's a model, she's a singer, you know, she's a producer, and she married Paul W.S. Anderson, who's a total geek, and had 2 kids with him. I mean, how awesome is that? So I give her a lot of credit for that type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, I was upset that your Night of Living Dead had a slipcover, but your 28 Days Later did not, and mine does.
Oh, man.
And mine does.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. It's got that. So I'm very happy with that. And then the last one, we actually have some of the same taste here. My last one would be Zombieland, and that's on Blu-ray. I even like the sequel. A lot of people didn't like the sequel, but I did.
I haven't seen the sequel. I just got a digital code for it, so I have to check it out.
It's more or less a remake, but I liked it. You know, I thought it was pretty good. It was nice seeing everybody back. A lot of cameos are in it. So the TV show, they did a pilot through Amazon. It's horrible. Yeah, it was a few years ago. God, is it awful? It was so bad. There's a reason why they never continued with it. So, you know, and yeah, this is just great.
My. Yeah, you know? Yeah. I mean, hey, he's got to find a Twinkie.
That's right. That's his mission.
His mission in life is to find that one last Twinkie.
That's right. Now, these are kind of like the ones that you're showing. These are kind of like ones that I don't think maybe a lot of people know about, but I liked them and I think that they should watch them. The first one I'll show, all film nerds know about it, but I think that they should get this version of it. And that is, and I even have a sci-fi zombie one, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, nice.
Yes, Plan 9. What is that? To resurrect the dead. That is what Plan 9 is. And this is the colorized version along with the black and white version. And it has, once again, Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks is doing audio commentary on it. And the Riff Tracks one with all 3 guys is actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it is considered the worst film ever, right?
I so disagree with that. I do not think Ed Wood is the worst director. I do not think this is the worst film ever made. There's a ton of love put into this. I think this movie is awesome. I love this film. I can watch it anytime. And I think Ed Wood is incredibly underrated. So
I have not seen the movie the whole way through, but from what I have seen, I mean, I was like, how is this a bad movie? I mean, it was watchable. There was a story. There was, I mean, was it the greatest movie ever? No, but it was far from the worst.
It's no better than a lot of the B movies that came out in the 50s. Like it's no worse, it's no better. And you know, and I think that with like the Golden Turkey Awards and all that type of stuff, where they named it Ed the worst director and this the worst film, there was some sort of I'm blanking on the word that I want to use, but it's almost like it was done on purpose. Like they had motive, like there was some sort of motive behind what they were doing. The Melvid, Mevid, Michael Melvid, however you say his last name, and his brother.
Yeah.
So I never agreed with those anyways. But yeah, if anybody's out there interesting, you know, or is interested in this is the version to get. So because it's got a little bit of everything.
Nice.
The
That's
next
definitely
one,
one I have to pick up.
yeah. The next one is called It Stains the Sands Red. Shot out here in Las Vegas. Girl and her
Nice.
boyfriend's car breaks down in the desert. Zombie kills the boyfriend. Girl is on the run in the desert, and the zombie just keeps chasing her. And that's basically the whole movie. Every once in a while, they come across somebody that the zombie kills, but it's just her trying to escape this zombie. And the last shot of the film is pretty good. I don't want to tell what it is, but
Yeah.
like I said, it is shot out here in Las Vegas. So,
I
and
mean,
this
isn't that
is
how every horror film starts? Breaks down, then they have to run away from people.
yes, yeah, pretty much. And Drew Marvick is in this from Pool Party Massacre and my
Oh,
AXEMAS
nice.
stuff. He plays one of the zombies in it, so he has like his own little zombie scene. This
Oh,
is
nice.
also one of the few films that deals with a woman's period. She is on the rag, and that's pretty much why the zombie can smell her. And I like that they do that, because I've always mentioned that in like The Walking Dead and all these movies is BO. The zombies would probably smell BO, but then if a woman is menstruating, they would smell the blood. And if at one point all the women get on the same cycle, they're screwed. They're going to have like a whole horde of zombies going in after them. And that's rarely ever brought up in zombie movies. And it is brought up in this. So, and what she does with it is pretty funny. So I highly recommend It Stains the Sands Red. Next one would be a film called Zombie Night. This is an asylum movie. And it's got Anthony Michael Hall, who I'm a massive fan of, and also Daryl Hannah. And it is from the director of the Feast films and Piranha 3 Double D. And so that would be John Gulager, who I think is a very underrated director too. Oh, what's different on yours? Wait, what is mine? Says unrated version. What's on top of yours?
Oh, mine just says DVD, Blu-ray DVD combo.
Mine the combo pack? No, I just have the Blu-ray. Okay. Yeah, so this is really good too. It's also got Shirley Jones in it, Alan Ruck from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This is really good. I thought this was a really good zombie movie, and people need to check this one out.
Yeah.
Here is one that I was really surprised with. Disaster LA. The last zombie apocalypse begins here. All set in LA. There is like a making of on this, and it's amazing of what these guys did with no budget and shooting in LA. I mean, this looks really good. And I think this is one, I bought it on Blu-ray, but I think I've seen it at like Dollar Tree from time to time, so you could probably find it for pretty cheap.
I think I've seen. I think I might have seen that one at Big Lots, believe it or not, out of all places.
Pick it up. I thought it was really
good. I'll definitely have to check it out now.
Then one, Warm Bodies, which is really good, where he's a zombie, falls in love with her, and the more he falls in love with her, he turns back human. But her dad is a zombie killer. So she can't say, she has to meet up with him secretly, but his heart starts to come back. So he becomes more and more human the more they fall in love, because there's like a little heart thing behind them. Cold Bodies, Warm Hearts. So I actually thought this was really good and pretty original, actually. So this is worth watching. It's good for
Twilight before Twilight.
Fuck Twilight. Fuck those movies. Awful. Then I thought I would, since we're coming up on Christmas soon, Silent Night, Zombie Night. So if you want like a
Nice.
Christmas zombie movie, and this has Vernon Wells, Felicia Rose, and Lou Temple.
There you go.
And it's about two cops, and I think it's LA. Um, during the apocalypse, one of the cops is married to her, and the other cop is having an affair with her. So there's this triangle going on during the zombie apocalypse at Christmas. I thought that was pretty good.
So not a zombie version of Twilight.
No, no, thank God. Um, now we talked about running zombies and using tools and all that. Technically, this is the film that started that. Nightmare City. So this is the one where the plane is at the airport. There's a bunch of reporters there. The plane was reported missing, and they open the door, and all these really gross zombies just flood out. And they use tools and weapons and guns, and they use everything. I mean, technically, I guess you could say that the graveyard zombie, because he is kind of running, is the first one. But if you want like a whole movie, this is it. I think it was originally called City of the Walking Dead. Was its American title. Great poster on it too. But yeah, this is really bloody. It's Italian. So the zombies are cutting off nipples off of women, and they're using, I mean, it's very Italian. So
wow, okay. All right, so let me ask you a question. What do you prefer? Walking zombies or running zombies? Which one do you prefer out of the two?
I mean, I almost want to say both. It just depends on the film. If they're rage zombies, like 28 Days Later, like they're rabid, then yeah, I'm all
running
down
makes
for it.
sense.
Yeah. But if it's a regular zombie movie like George Romero, then I want slow.
Okay.
Because they even mention in Night of the Living Dead, the remake, the 1990 version, when Barbara leaves the house, she just walks right past them and goes, my God, they're so slow. They're so easy to kill. And she just walks right past them because they're so slow. So I think it depends on maybe fast zombies these days, like World War Z. I liked how they were kind of like ants. Like they would kind of make this big thing of all the zombies together to get like over a wall. They would just kind of keep going up and up like a pyramid, and then they could get over the wall that way. But they were all like ants, like, you know, moving around. So what about you?
I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, it like you said, it depends on the story. I mean, if it makes sense for them to make it fast zombies, like the rage zombies you were just saying about, like it all depends on what the story calls for. Now, if they do like if they're coming out of the grave or coming out of the ground, let's be real here. Are they really gonna run? No, they'll fall apart. Most of them anyway. But the ones are like,
oh no,
but the ones are like, you know, it's I don't know, like 28 days later, you know, it's more of a virus that kind of kills everybody and brings them back. I can understand doing like running zombies.
yeah, because it'd be like if you were if you were bitten by somebody that has rabies, then you would get the rabies.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah. So I think it just depends. Some people say that Return of Living Dead, the first one, is the first one with running zombies in it. But I like and I don't care what people say. I'm a Uni-Bull fan. I love House of the Dead. I don't care what people say. I love what he did with it. And in that film, he has a combination of both. So like if you were like a teenager at the party or like a 20-something and you were bit, you would run. But if you're a zombie from like 20 years ago that's coming up from the ground and your body is all decayed, you're slow.
Yeah.
And to me that made sense. I don't know
That's
why
what
people...
that's what I was saying before. Like, you know, a zombie that's been resurrecting from the grave, you know, has been decaying for like 10 years. That zombie's not gonna run. You know, it'll start running and then its leg will fall.
Well,
and it'll start crawling towards you.
As much as I love the original Return of Living Dead, it's flawed with its zombies because it has like a Civil War zombie that is has its eyeballs, its tongue, all of its skin. It just looks gross. Knows what a speaker in a like an ambulance or like a cop car is, and says, "Send more cops." Okay, one, why would he? How does he know what a cop is? I mean, I'm guessing they had cops back then, but I don't know if they were called cops. How does he know how to use the radio? And why is it he just completely decayed?
Yeah.
I mean,
Should
it's a
be
great
like
movie.
pretty much a walking skeleton at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And the humor in it works perfectly because, you know, Dan O'Bannon is such a good writer. But yeah, some stuff just doesn't make sense. So I got a few more here. So we got The Dead, which is really good. There's a sequel, The Dead 2. This is Australian.
Okay.
And I thought it was really good. It's by the Ford brothers. But it's really good. So I highly recommend that.
Check that one out.
Then there is Robert Kurtzman's The Rage. This is crazy. This is one of the weirdest zombie movies I've seen. There's like a guy out, he's either like hunting or fishing or something. I haven't seen it in a while. And a meteorite that's like the size of a golf ball hits him in the head, but it turns him into a zombie. So it's just bizarre. It is one of the strangest zombie movies I've ever seen. And yeah, it's directed by Robert Kurtzman. And it's just the strangest freaking thing I've seen as far as a zombie movie goes. It's hard to explain because I haven't seen it in a while, but there's that's the actor who plays the Wishmaster. So the guy who's in the prequel to Night of the Living Dead. But this is I highly recommend this if you want just a crazy comic book zombie movie. So very bizarre.
I definitely have to check that one out.
Yeah. And then I like locations. So I if you put zombies in the snow or zombies in the desert, I'm very happy. And so they put zombies in the forest. And this is Severed, Forest of the Dead, which is really good. It's a logging company, and they're up there cutting down the trees and all that type of stuff. And of course, one of the guys turns into a zombie, and they have to fight the zombies. Yeah. So might have been something from a tree. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a while, but I just like that it was it's all takes place at a logging place. So like a logging facility. So that was kind of cool. Mutant. This is an awesome one. That stars the great Wings Hauser. And I believe it's directed by John Bud Carlos. Richard Band does the music to it. And this is a really good zombie movie. Now, the funny thing with this is on the back, they show a picture of the alien from Forbidden World, the Roger Corman movie, for some reason. Because Forbidden World was originally called Mutant. So I'm guessing when they were Googling pictures for this mutant, they found this under Mutant. So they put it on the back of the box. They probably didn't watch the movie. So Alien, one of the greatest Alien ripoffs ever, is pictured on the back of a zombie movie. But this is really good too. Small town, infection, and Wings Hauser and his friend has to try to get out of it. So that's really good. And then the last one for these is a film that you did have. I really enjoyed this, Dead Sight.
Now I'm mad at you. You have the slipcover for that one.
I used to, because this is Dollar Tree. So I go to Dollar Tree, and if I found them without this, like if this looks cool, I would buy it. Then if I went back another time and found it with the slipcover, I would buy it again. And I would sell the one without the slipcover because I had to have the slipcover.
Same.
It's like a pop-up. It's like a ridged one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
yeah,
this is...
I've done the same.
Yeah, and this is really good. I mean, this is I really like this zombie film. It's very unknown, I think. Okay. And it just
I definitely have to check it out because it's on my list to watch. It's definitely one I want to check out.
Yeah, eventually I'm going to do this for the reviews after midnight for Jonathan over at Indie Film Cafe. I just have to watch it again and make notes. Now, the other stack that I have here, and this is pretty small. Well, actually, I'm going to name. I have two. that I consider to be two of the worst things I've ever seen, and I own them. Sadly, for the franchise of my favorite zombie film, Night of the Living Dead with additional shot footage. So for the
Additional shot
anniversary,
footage.
this is the 30th anniversary. It's numbered. It's got a soundtrack and the movie. And what they did was they went out with like the original actors, some new zombies, added a whole bunch of story to it about like warlocks and all that stuff, shot all this new footage and put it into the movie. And it doesn't match at all. Not at all.
Why?
Because
Why?
my thought is that because George Romero told them to stop this. He called them and said, stop, don't make what are you doing? But the film's public domain and nobody's made money off this stuff. So that's why Romero did Night of the Living Dead 1990 and why he did Dawn of the Dead and stuff was to make money, because nobody makes money off of the original. So the other guys, John Russo and everybody else, started making their own sequels. So like Bill Hintzman, who's the Graveyard Zombie, he did his own called Revenge of the Living Dead, which is also known as Flesh Eater. So he has his own sequel. All of them got together, which I loved. I actually really liked that sequel. But they got together and did this. There's even a comic book inside. So it's got a whole bunch of stuff with it, but it is awful. It is really, that's the soundtrack. So they redid the soundtrack, and it's supposed to kind of match with what I consider to be the worst zombie film I have ever seen. Children of the Living Dead, which is kind of a sequel to this version. Because this kind of follows...
I've never seen that one.
Tom Savini has said, and he stars in it. He plays like a zombie assassin. He says that he wishes that he never made it. And he's friends with all these people. So, and this is made by John Russo and all those guys. So pretty much after they made this, they went and made this, which kind of follows the original book by John Russo, Return of the Living Dead. And then Russo did the novelization of the movie version of Return of the Living Dead. So there's two books and two different versions. But in the book, the original book is Night of the Living Dead ends, the zombie apocalypse stops. It's a group of kids on a bus, and that's what starts the apocalypse again. And that's what this is, more or less. It is awful. I have watched it, I want to say 3 times, just because I keep saying, this can't be as bad as I remember it. And it is.
And it's that bad.
Ooh. Yeah, it is not good. And people thought stuff like Day of the Dead 2 Contagion was bad. No, I'm sorry, no. I'd much rather watch this. I'm sorry, I'd much rather watch that than this. Ooh. So, now this is kind of like, you'd mentioned before, are the zombies green in the colorized one?
Yeah.
This is where they're green.
Yeah, that was a bad look, man.
I love this version. So,
oh, you do like the green?
It's okay. New colorized version. This is by Hal Roach, who also colorized King Kong, and King Kong ended up purple instead of brown. And the best thing on this is the Night of the Living Dead. They scream louder in color.
That is a terrible tag.
I mean, I bought this when it originally came out, and then sold it down the road or whatever. And I said, oh, I got to get this version of it. And so it's Video Treasures, which don't exist anymore. And I had to have it. I just had to have it because the zombies are green. It is so awesomely bad that I had to own it again. And
so bad it's good.
Yeah, and I love they scream louder in color. I mean, that is great. I love this film. I mean, it's so horrible that it's great.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see Purple King Kong now.
As I'm sure you could probably find it on eBay.
Probably.
And then this one is one that I thought was pretty cool. It's a tin box, and it's zombie classics.
Oh, nice.
And you open it up, and it's got two. Well, it's kind of hard to. I guess the back is different. So yeah, the fronts are the same, but then the back shows you what it is. And it's so it's disc 1 is Night of the Living Dead and Revenge of the Zombies. Disc 2 is one of my all-time favorite zombie movies, Oasis of the Living Dead. Actually, I think it's just called Oasis of the Dead. I think they added a living to this, but it's an Italian film. It's just Franco. It's a remake of the film Zombie Lake. And I absolutely love it. And then White Zombie with Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
So this is really cool. And I love that it's a tin box.
Nice.
The last two, one of them is you had Dawn of the Dead.
Nice.
And this is the version that has Disc 1 US theatrical version, Disc 2 extended version, Disc 3 European version, which is the one that you showed, the Argento one.
Yeah.
And Disc 4 are all the documentaries. So
how long is it extended? Because it was like a 2-hour movie.
So the US theatrical version, which is the original version, was under 2 hours. The extended version is the one that just came out in 3D, and that's 2 hours and 10 minutes. And then the one that you showed is roughly 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's a really nice spoilers. The hell? Spoilers again. It's like, thanks. But it's really, I mean, it's even got a comic book and everything with it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I figured if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it with everything on it. And then the last one is, and I don't know if you've seen these or not, let me know, is the box set. It's the collection for REC, REC.
I do have that. I didn't know there were zombie movies.
Yes, it's Spanish. So they're more zombie demons and it's more religious.
Okay.
So they're not running zombies traditionally. They're not the traditional slow zombies. You find out, I think it's the second movie, REC 2, that they're more religious demons that are zombies.
Okay.
But they're technically still zombies. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, there's 4 in the box. So it's definitely worth picking up. I got it off of eBay for pretty cheap. So you got to look at it as like, it's $30. How's that per film? So,
Yeah, I think I paid like 50 for it.
Yeah, I think I probably actually paid more, like 40 for it. Is I think what I paid.
So that was brand new, and that was when that was right around the time it was starting to go out of print. So that's the only reason I picked it up, grabbed it while I could.
Yeah, it's definitely worth picking up if people don't have it. So, but that's all my stuff. So, I mean, I have a ton more, but we'd be here for like 3 hours if I showed everything. So,
yeah.
So, what about what don't you like in a zombie movie?
I mean, I don't know, dude. When I get asked that question, I'm like, what can you not like about zombies? I mean, there's a lot of I guess the thing I don't like would probably have to be something like, I don't know, when it doesn't make sense. If make this if the story why how they became zombies doesn't make sense, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, and you were saying you don't like a reason, right? Like you just like zombies popping up. Like we may think it's a virus or it could be
I
something.
mean, if it I don't like when the virus is explained. I mean, just say it's a virus. It's a virus. I mean, at that point, no one's gonna know. The world has ended. We don't need an explanation to why the virus came to be. It just happened. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, now what about something like Resident Evil? They explained the T virus and that it was dropped in the lab. And what about that? Is that acceptable?
Well, I mean, that's a video game. I mean, so that makes more sense to explain it because you're gonna be invested in it a long time. But for like a 2 hour movie, no one really needs to know too much of anything. I mean, if it's done well and it's explained well, then okay. But if it's just like if they're going out of their way to try so hard to explain something and they're actually reaching for thin air, that's when I can't stand.
Okay. So what do you think about something like 28 Days Later, where it's the environmentalist people go in to release the monkeys, and the one guy's like, no, don't open that. And the monkey goes out and bites the person, and that kind of starts it. So is that I'm all for stopping animal research, but if it's going to start a plague, you might want to just leave it in there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's if something like that didn't happen, we wouldn't have a movie, would we?
Right. But I always wonder
I
when they
mean,
do stuff like that, is are they kind of criticizing environmentalists? Like is this their way of bashing on these people that break into labs and set these creatures free, and then of course one is messed up, and that kind of starts everything. Like, is this them bashing on them? Because if they weren't environmentalists and did this, then we wouldn't have had the movie.
yeah. I mean, like I said, every movie has to start somewhere. I mean, we have to. Every movie has a message. So whether that message is political, whether it's environmental, is it war? I mean, wasn't I mean, I mean, like, there's a whole bunch of things that we can. I mean, you know,
I mean, you look at something like the original Night of Living Dead, and you have the reporters, one of them being Romero, and they're like right in front of the White House, and they're or the Capitol building actually, and they uh they're interviewing like the army guys, and one of them brings up the Venus probe, which is what everybody thinks caused this, that the Venus probe got too close to the sun, had radiation. When it came back to Earth, that's what caused the recently dead to come up. But it's never been confirmed. Romero has never confirmed it. It's never been confirmed. But it's the only explanation to why this is happening.
yeah,
So I prefer for it to be, even though I love Resident Evil, I prefer it to be a little more unknown. I kind of like to have a little bit of a
yeah,
mystery around it.
yeah. I mean, when it comes to Resident Evil, the T virus and the C virus, I mean, for God's sakes, it was the T virus at first, and it went into the G virus, and then it went into the C virus. I'm like, okay, how many more viruses do we need? And every time there was a new virus, like there was more, like the zombies could do more. So I understand that from a video game perspective, but during a movie, I mean, we just want to see people blowing the brains out of zombies. We just want to see zombies eating people. We just want to see. I mean, us make it a story of how these people survive the zombie apocalypse. Do these people even know what's going on? Probably not. I mean, let's just be real here. If the world ended today, and it so happened that it's a zombie apocalypse, are we going to know what caused the zombie apocalypse?
No,
Probably not.
only if it kind of got out. If you look at something like The Stand and Captain Trips, it was in newspapers. Like they were showing, people knew what Captain Trips was. That was the nickname for it. And so we knew that it was government made, it escaped, and that's what's killing everybody. So, but in something like Night of Living Dead, the only thing that's mentioned is the Venus probe.
The Venus probe, yeah.
Yeah. And then, which of course, and then if you, which is why I love zombie films and horror movies and stuff so much, is that you can be political without throwing it in somebody's face. So Night of Living Dead, kind of like I Am Legend, the book at least, is about communism and the zombie and conforming. So the zombies are the Russians, everybody in the house are the Americans, and some of them are slowly converting to communism. And then Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead, of course, is about consumerism with the shopping center. And then the original Day of the Dead is about the decadent 80s and our attitudes of the world in the 80s. Land of the Dead, I guess, is maybe about greed, I guess. I don't know too much. And Diary, I guess, is just found footage, and survival, I have no freaking idea. Family, I guess.
I think George Romero kind of stopped trying to make messages after Day of the Dead. I think Land of the Dead was kind of like his last attempt to make a message without throwing it in your face, and then he just said, "Hey, I'm making money off this stuff. Why not just make Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead?"
Yeah, he had that deal up in Canada, and I think that was a big mistake because then everything started becoming digital instead of practical. And I really wish Land of the Dead was the last, because you could look at that as greed, as kind of like American greed. How Dennis Hopper is the white guy who lives way up in the penthouse, while John Leguizamo, I always mispronounce his name, is Hispanic and he lives down on the streets. So you could kind of look at it that way, where there's homeless people and all that type of stuff. And I think when the zombies attack, it's mostly white people that are in there. So, and of course, it's a black guy that leads the zombies. So I guess in a way that has a little bit of a message, but I think after that, he just stopped. I don't really know.
He just kind of did his own thing after that.
Well,
let's just make a zombie movie to make a zombie movie. I mean, I think he tried to make it that. I think he tried to make Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead like actual true sequels to each other. Because if you've noticed, like every one of his other movies, he never really had any characters like continuing into each other.
Right.
But when Diary of the Dead had there was the military people that came on to the camper. Well, then he's in that military guy's in the
the National Guard, I think it was
National Guard, something like that.
Who's a total dick. He was a dick in Diary, and then he's kind of a dick in Survival. And it's like, why do I want to vote for this person to win? I don't want to. I really hate Survival of the Dead. I would probably maybe say it's the second worst zombie film, with Children of the Living Dead being first. I think probably Survival would be. I hated the twins, like the girl that's on the horseback, who's the zombie, and the warring families. And I guess this is supposed to be taking place kind of like the Diary, the same time as Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And which I don't mind, but I just think I mean, he never got the opportunity to do. If you've ever read the script for Day of the Dead, it is massive. I mean, it's like that thick, and they've called it Gone with the Wind with zombies because it's massive, and it is huge. And if he got a studio to back that, it would have been great. And I think that the remake of Dawn of the Dead took some of that with it, with like the well, they're at the harbor at the end, and because that's at the beginning of Day of the Dead script, and then there is an island in the script, and I think so. I think he took part of it and made Day of the Dead all underground, and then he took that other part and made Land of the Dead. Yeah. But it would have been nice to just have one big movie out of that. But I still love the original trilogy. I mean, there's a reason why it's called the Holy Trilogy, and not the Holy Quadology. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the first three. Land of the Dead was probably the last one I really liked. Dire of the Dead was actually, believe it or not, was the first. Okay, not the first one, but like the second one I've seen. Because I had a buddy of mine that used to, pirate movies. I know, right? Terrible. And I just so happened to get a copy of Dire of the Dead, and I took it home and watched it, and I was like, okay, it's not bad, not great. I mean, let's be real here. I think the best part was the Amish guy shoving the scythe through his own face to kill the zombie behind him.
Yeah, I actually do remember that now. That it had its moments, but what I hated was when they're like, the girl does the narration at the beginning, and she goes, I've edited this all together. I've added music to it to make it suspenseful. And I'm like, no, it's found footage. You don't need to add music to this. No, you don't do that, because now it feels like a Hollywood movie. You don't want that. So I think if Romero would have stuck exactly with the found footage formula, it would have been much better. Because I love found footage films. I love them.
I enjoy found footage. I just think he should have just bailed out of the found footage. Because what irritated me about the movie, and I got tired of hearing this. Oh, if it's not filmed, it doesn't exist. If I don't film it, it doesn't exist. Shut up! You're not supposed to be making it known that you are a hit on YouTube. Like, you are not supposed. That's not supposed to matter. What's supposed to matter is what's going on with you right now.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that they really ever go into recharging batteries. Like, those things do run out of batteries. You do run out of tapes, because I think it was probably done on high 8 or something at the time. And even if it's a chip, it still runs out of space.
Yeah.
So unless he's got a backpack full of batteries and something to record on, tape or whatever it is, then that's something that bothers me with some of these found footage films, is people don't recharge.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, I like found footage. Found footage is probably one of my favorite subgenres there is. I mean, but this is, I don't know, man. I can't classify it as found footage. It just doesn't.
One that's done really well. They did a sequel to it. I believe it's British. Is called The Zombie Diaries. And it's really good. You can I think Zombie Diaries 1 is by itself, but then Zombie Diaries 2, it's on a triple feature, and I think they're on their own DVDs, but it's Children of the Corn Genesis, and then it goes Zombie Diaries 2, and then it's Hellraiser. What is it? The one that nobody likes with the fake pinhead. I'm blanking on the name, like Revelations or something like that. But it's got those 3 movies on it. I own that because I'm like, oh shit, they're all sequels. So keep it that way.
Yeah.
But Zombie Diaries is pretty good. I mean, they
I
even
think
get
I've
in,
seen that one.
yeah, they get into like raping the zombies. Like they have a room where the guys meet up with a group of people, and they have a room where they like handcuff the zombie women and then rape them. I don't know if you could rape a zombie, but they have sex with them. So,
Wow.
well, what do you think of
Yeah,
all
no,
the? You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, that one. I do remember the Zombie Diary one. I've seen that one before. It wasn't my favorite, but eh, I have to maybe give it another chance.
I mean, maybe after seeing Diary of the Dead, maybe you'll change your mind. And but then you also have stuff like the Crazies, Romero's Crazies
Crazy.
and the
I've seen the
remake of
remake.
Crazies.
I've seen the remake. I really enjoyed the remake. I have not seen Romero's original. I definitely have to
They're
go
both
back
good.
and watch that one. So but I've enjoyed the remake of it. It was really good.
Yeah, that Eisinger, the son, I just the guy who used to run Disney directed it. I thought it was really good. I liked both versions of it.
Okay.
And so those are like the crazy zombies. And then you also have like David Cronenberg, Rabid, with Marilyn Chambers, and she creates a whole bunch of zombies. And then they the sisters, the so God, I've been having a hard time with names today, but they're sisters, the social sisters. They
Yeah.
directed the remake,
Okay.
which I did not think was as good. I need to watch it again, maybe. But Cronenberg's Rabbit is great. I mean, that's also, I think they're fast moving zombies, but they're more rabid type of zombies.
Okay.
So, well, what do you
Yeah.
think of the all the sequels? I mean, you could do an entire tree of Night of Living Dead, and then like Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and then you could go down Return of Living Dead 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's Day of the Dead, the one that you showed, and then there's Day of the Dead 2, Contagion, Day of the Dead, Bloodline. I mean, what do you think about all that stuff?
I kind of I kind of get to the point to where if it's not George Romero, I'm not watching it.
Well, now
I
you
mean,
have one of them though. You have Night of Living Dead 3D. That's one of the kind of
oh yeah,
remakes.
I mean that was back when I was collecting everything under the sun zombies. I mean, I've slowed down a lot. I don't that what I have here is not even everything I have. I still have a whole bunch of movies at my dad's house that I don't even have here. There's probably a whole crap ton of zombie movies there. But these I don't know, dude. It's just like when you get to the point where you get this sequel, that sequel, then this prequel, and then it's kind of like The Walking Dead doing their whole thing of hey, let's milk it as much as we can.
See, that may be why I love that stuff. Not like the Night of Living Dead stuff and Amityville are the two things I collect. I don't care. I mean, it can be called, Amityville Garage, and I would buy it. And so I own all of those. I own all the Day of the Dead sequels and remakes. I own all the Return of Living Dead sequels. I own
Okay,
all those Night of Living Dead like remakes. There's Night of Living Dead Resurrection. There's all of these because it wasn't public domain, and I love that. And at one point, I wanted to do Night of the Living Dead Las Vegas, and it would take place at the same time as Night of the Living Dead. So you're kind of getting some of the same reports, but it would be in
okay,
Vegas instead of where it was originally at. And
okay.
but there's some new ones because of the Criterion disc. I believe there's an issue now with it being public domain that whatever is on that Blu-ray from Criterion is copyrighted. So
Okay.
you can't, from what I understand, you can't use anything from that. But if you were to get like, I don't know, Night of Living Dead, like a shitty version off of YouTube, I think that is still public domain
Okay.
because they own the version that they put out, but they don't
So,
own the movie itself.
they own the version they cleaned up, and
Right.
they remastered and stuff. So that's I could see. You see that is a strange topic because like what classifies it as public domain? You know what I mean? Like what? Like how do you know what like where the copyright thing begins and ends? You know what I mean? Like and it's been classified as public domain for all these years, and then all of a sudden, like then there's people that say it's not public domain no more. Then it's always been public domain, and then it might be public domain, but only these versions or that version. You know what I'm saying? It gets kind of confusing after a while.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking. Let me see here.
Because I see
Let's
people like a lot of those horror host people always using Night of the Living Dead. So those I guess they could still use Night of the Living Dead as long as it's them um, doing something over top of it or something.
uh so it says here, okay, so this is Criterion. This was okay, so this is a larger article about it, but this was followed by a 4K restoration Blu-ray released by the Criterion Collection on February 13, 2018, sourced from a work print owned by the Museum of Modern Art and acquired by Janus Films. This release also features a work print edit of the film under the title under its original title, in addition to bonus material. But it doesn't. I know there is a thing. Let's see. Because public domain films, because I know it's in the list of public domain films.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Oh, that's not what I want. Maybe list. Oh, come on. They had something here. I've looked at it many times to see what films are public domain and not. See, public domain, maybe in the United States is what I need.
Of course, when you really need it, that's when you can't find it.
Yeah, it's just a list, and it's just giving me websites with public domain movies in them, and I don't want that. Okay, this is a page. Okay, maybe this is it. So let's see. So, because there's two guys on Facebook, that. Okay, public domain film. Here it is. I think this is it. United States. There's Roger Connors, who did a film called Rebirth. That's his remake of Night of the Living Dead. And he even got in contact with maybe Criterion or some other people and said that he's doing this. And they said, well, you can't call it Night of the Living Dead. You have to call it something else, and you kind of have to make it your own. And so he changed the title to Rebirth. Roger is gay, so he played the role of Barbara, but as a man. So I forget what the character's name is in the film, but he plays the Barbara role. And it's very good. I've seen it twice. I really like it. And then another guy on Facebook said that he was challenged to remake Night of the Living Dead. And I'm in it. It hasn't come out yet. I play an Alex Jones like conspiracy nut that tells people not to eat mayonnaise because the virus is in the mayonnaise. And so I'm on a TV, but it hasn't come out yet. I told him, don't call the film Night of the Living Dead because you could get in trouble for that. Look into it. So he did. And I got thanked for that because he changed the title to Dead of Night. So I guess now there is an issue with the title. List of films. Okay. If I don't find it on this round, I'm just going to give up because this is taking too long.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I just have to look under N. N. M. N. Okay, so Night of the Living Dead, 1968, George Romero. Walter Reed is the company that was brought out, also 1968. Missing copyright notice and errors from the distributor. The restored version released on home media by the Criterion Collection is under copyright by Image 10 Inc., which is George Romero's company.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing from what I'm taking from that is whatever is on that DVD is copyrighted.
Either that or they have a copyright on the film now that, until the copyright runs out through them. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, if it was in the public domain and nobody had a problem, why would they tell the two people that you just talked about? Why would they tell them to you can't use the name Night of the Living Dead?
Well, it
if
could
it's
be.
in.
I don't know, because it could be like when Romero, when he found out about like Flesh Eater and then them adding footage to Night of the Living Dead, he called them and said, you can't do this. You're not allowed to do this. And they're like, yeah, we can. But Romero was going to sue them and all this type of stuff for doing that. And it's like, dude, we can, but it's called Children of the Living Dead. It's Night of the Living Dead, like 30th edition, like 30th year anniversary edition. And Romero has the copyright to, which is why Night of the Living Dead, and then it goes Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, because he cannot put living in his title. But John Russo can, which is why we have Children of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead. Okay. So he gets that, but they don't say Night of the Living Dead. So I guess if I did Las Vegas of the Living Dead, I would be okay.
Okay.
Because it's not called Night of the Living Dead.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Or you just do it and see what happens. I
don't know if we wanna jinx that.
I mean, because it's still listed in public domain. It's in Wikipedia under public domain movies. So if Criterion owned it now, it wouldn't be listed.
And plus, on top of that, how would people like all these horror hosts and stuff like that be allowed to still play the movie, and even if they're adding like their own like little skits and stuff to the beginning, halfway through, and at the end of the movie? Well, how would they be able to get away with it if it was copywritten through Criterion?
Yeah, that's why all indie filmmakers like ourselves and stuff use public domain movies.
Yeah.
And even at the beginning of the one that you have there, the Night of the Living Dead 3D, it starts, I think it's inside a gas station looking at a TV, and it's playing Night of the Living Dead, like the opening credits with the car going up the road. Mm-hmm. And then it says Night of the Living Dead. And then we see in color, like the new footage of the new car going past the camera.
Yeah.
So they used it at the beginning of the film, So I don't really know how that works, but I guess, like, I know Roger, out of respect, changed the title.
Yeah.
Because I think it was originally called Rebirth of the Living Dead or Rebirth of the Dead. And they're like, no, that it's too close or something. So we just changed it to Rebirth. And the other guy, I guess he just spoke to enough people or the right person, and they said, yeah, John's right, you don't want to call this Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
So that's why he changed it to Dead of Night, which is funny because Dead of Night is a movie by itself, is a film, like an anthology movie from, I think it's the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
But it's I guess as long as you own the rights to something, like the guys who made Day of the Dead 2 Contagion bought the rights to at least the title for Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
And Sci-Fi Channel even got, they did I think it only lasted one season, but Day of the Dead, the series.
Yeah, they did.
Which had nothing to do with any of the movies. It was not good. I watched like the first 3 episodes and just went, okay. If this was leading up to the movie, but had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of wonky when you go into territories like that, because you never know, because a lot of times they'll tell you you can use the same title as long as it's a different movie, but then there's also times like this where they don't want you to use like Night of the Living Dead or whatever. So I mean, didn't I think it was a couple of years ago I read, wasn't there supposed to be a Twilight of the Living Dead or Twilight of the Dead or something like that?
That was the rumor, is after Day of the Dead, Romero was going to do Twilight of the Dead.
Okay.
So when that was the fan idea, was night, dawn, day, twilight. And,
okay.
and it's even, I think it's even in House of the Dead, is the guy calls the Romero films the Holy Trilogy, and he goes, we're all hoping that, that he makes Twilight of the Dead. But instead he did Land of the Dead. He didn't even want to call it Land of the Dead. The studio made him do. He wanted to call it Dead Reckoning. And the studio made him change the title to something of the dead, to Land of the Dead, and then, Diary of the Dead, because that's what Romero's known for. Nobody's going to go see Dead Reckoning, but they'll see Land of the Dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's on the for Land of the Dead. It's in the documentary that Romero talks about that. Where he's just like, it's a title. What does it matter? And then, he's like, but the producers wanted, Land of the Dead or of the Dead, something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, I don't know. I guess because you can't copyright a title. Like you can't really copyright a word.
But, no, you can't.
But if you call a movie Star Wars Battle of the Jedi, you better put fan film on it, because, in that case, I think that Disney these days would win.
Or War of the Stars.
Yeah, you can kind of put your own thing on it. But yeah, I think if you called it, something like Las Vegas of the Living Dead, you could get away with that, or something like that. It's like the guy who just, speaking of Disney, I just bought this, but I haven't seen it. I did read about it. The guy who made that film called Escape from Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Do you know what it's about?
Is that the one where it's like a horror movie, and he's like he shot inside a Disney park or something like that?
Yeah, they rented out like a couple rooms, and they would storyboard it and go over the script and everything, and then they would take their phones in and act like tourists and shoot as this dad goes slowly insane inside Disneyland, and or Disney World. I'm not sure which one it's in, but I think it's Disneyland. Yeah. And it's black and white. And Disney was going to sue him. But they said, look, you could put this film out, but you cannot make a dime off of it. And I guess that's what happened. I mean, a company picked it up. They released it. I own it. It's in a box right over here. I forget who released it, but I guess he agreed that he would not make a dime off the movie. But they did release it, even though it has all of, the Pirates of the Caribbean and Mickey Mouse and all of their copyrighted material.
Yeah.
Is in it. They did let him release the movie. But I guess if he made 1 penny off of it, that'd be it. He'd be sued.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to
So,
call it a fan film.
I mean, at least I'm I'm surprised Disney would let him get away with that.
Yeah, I was very surprised since they're so incredibly corporate. I mean, shit.
I mean, it's a funny world we live in today.
Well, and they now own 20th Century Fox, and there's that movie Prey that everybody says was a ripoff on the fan film of Prey by Chris R. Oh God, I forget how to say his last name. No, Notaroli, something like that. But he did a fan film, like a 10-minute fan film about a predator who meets like an Indian girl in a cave, and they fight. I think it's 2 female predators, and it's called Prey. And then, like I said, Disney that owns Fox made a movie called Prey about a predator that meets up with an Indian girl.
Wow.
But I don't think there's anything Chris can do about it because it's a fan film.
Probably not.
Yeah, because he can't do it. If they want to steal it, they can steal it. But some people
Pretty
said that
much.
it was and it wasn't. So I know. I guess if you want to make your own version of Day of the Dead or whatever it is, without buying the rights, just change the title and don't expect to make money off of it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much how we independent people get away with it. Just shake or change one word called Days with a Z of the Dead.
Oh, great! So then it's all shot in like South Central. Day of the Dead's.
Days of the Deads.
And then they find some sort of like drug that's being sold on the streets that turns people into zombies.
I'm copyrighting that
now. Damn it! I was too late. So, all right, man. So I think we're at the end here. I mean, we didn't even get to our best and worst list that's on this particular website.
Did we even get to the worst ones?
No. I mean, do you still have anything to show?
I do have a couple worse.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, let's get through them.
Do you have any worse that you want to maybe?
I did the 2, Children of Living Dead and then the Night of Living Dead with added footage. Those are my 2 worst.
Okay, all right. So the one I'll show you, I don't have the Blu-ray on hand. I do have these in order, so it'll be like my number 5. I'm only holding this up in place of it, but it'll be Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies. I have Zombie Night. Okay. This is not the horrible movie, but Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies.
But they're both asylum, so okay.
Yeah, I mean it's an asylum movie, so I figured I'm like, hey, let's put one asylum movie in there. So I picked Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies. So
okay, fair enough.
It's not the worst, definitely not the best, but it was. I think my biggest problem was it was kind of boring. Like it was a very slow burn.
That's the worst thing. You don't want your movie to be boring.
Yeah. So my number 4. Zombies.
Oh, I know of it, but I've never seen it. It's that bad?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean,
I'll avoid it.
I mean, you might like it. I'm not. I would say if you find it for like cheap, give it a chance. But
if I found it at Dollar Tree, I'd probably pick it up just because it's zombies and it's cheap.
Just because it's zombies, yeah. So zombies. Even though on that list of
so is it zombies or is it zombies?
I don't know. I mean, the cover is very misleading. It makes it look like a romantic comedy.
Zombies.
That's probably what it is. So my number 3 is You probably guessed it. Day of the Dead remake.
Day of the Dead remake. That's the first remake of it. Yeah, that's Steve Miner, unfortunately, directed that one. So yeah, that's not very good.
I mean,
and Ving Rhames is in that, and one of the chicks from American Pie.
my biggest problem, and here's one thing I will comment on: the running zombies is fine, but when you have zombies like literally climbing on the ceiling, when Spider when the zombies turn into Spider-Man, that's when we got a problem.
Well, see, that's where you get into that series Wreck, is because they're demons, they can go on the ceiling.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
This does not.
Well,
and
go on.
I was gonna say, and plus the one zombie that was a vegetarian.
Bub. They brought Bub into it, yeah, and he's a vegetarian zombie. What the fuck?
I don't think that's going to affect a zombie. If I don't care if you're vegetarian or what you are, if you turn into a zombie, you're gonna eat people.
Yeah.
Let's just be real here.
Well, and I think a lot of us, when the film first came out, we saw Ving Rhames was in it, and like he was like a military guy, and he played a cop in Dawn of the Dead. So we were thinking, like, okay, is this supposed to tie into Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah.
And it doesn't. He's just a military guy, and he's like only in like the opening scene. That's about it.
And from what I understand, like the story doesn't even, like, at least with like Dawn of the Dead, like the stories were still similar. But then this one kind of does its own thing. Like it is nothing like.
No, they're in a radio station. At least Day of the Dead Bloodlines, they are in an underground cave. It's like a missile silo type place. It's like a bunker. Yeah.
Exactly. So my number 2.
Oh my God, you actually own a copy of that.
I own 2 copies. I own 2 copies. I own 2 copies. I bought a Blu-ray copy. Yeah.
What's that copy? What are the two different? Blu-ray and what? Oh, Blu-ray and DVD?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I turned it off. I found actually a download of it. So I did a torrent. And the film's like 100 minutes long. It feels like 3 hours. And it's the same thing throughout the entire movie. I think I made it through 45 minutes. And everyone was somebody at the door, like zombies trying to get in the door. And it's like, okay, how many times can we do that? The other ones are people going, well, I hope I have enough booze. Okay, saw that like 5 times. It's like these are and they're all shot like shit. They look horrible. I won't even put that in my collection. No.
So, yeah, I do own a copy.
It's a good cover.
But, yeah, it's a good cover.
Say something positive.
I
would rather have Angry Asian Hornets, or whatever that's called.
Angry Asian Murder Hornets.
Yeah, I actually own that. And that was horrible too. But 5G Zombies is dreadful.
At least Angry Asian Murder Hornets was a little more watchable. Not much, but a little more.
Yes,
but believe it or not, that is not the worst zombie movie I have. There's one worse.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready for this?
Okay.
Zombie Beasts of the Confederacy.
What? Oh my God, I love the title. That's a good cover. Is it how bad? It's that bad?
It's terrible. And I feel bad because my buddy, a local guy that I'm actually friends with, he is in this movie. He's like one of the zombies. The problem I have with this, on the back, it says it's 80 minutes long. And it's actually like an hour and 47 minutes.
Oh my God.
It is so drawn out. I don't even think, like, the story doesn't even make any sense after that. But the only thing that this has over Dustin's movies that there's actual zombies in it. But it's still, at least Dustin had a story. This did
Was
not.
it? Was it a story? Was it
There's
really a
lot,
story?
dude. Let's be real here. This was okay. Let me read the back to you. Okay, let me read the back to you.
I'm curious about this. Yeah.
In 1863, Confederate President Jefferson Davis sent a detachment with a dangerous virus known as Confederate 13 to Gettysburg to join General Robert E. Lee. However, his men, and even the back is poorly written, his men and the virus vanished into the hills of Indiana County. In 2016, the virus has been awakened, along with legions of undead soldiers. Only 3 men stand between peace and the zombie apocalypse. Will they be able to stop the virus from spreading before it's too late? Or will the country be involved in another civil war, a zombie war, with a giant beast as a new general?
I want to see that.
It is no, dude, and the quality is so bad, dude. The quality is so bad. Like you're watching like one time, it's shot in like they're using like an actual 1080p camera, and then the next thing you know, you look at it, it looks like they're shooting on a crappy digital camera. That you see the quality like go up and down throughout the entire movie. At least this was understandable because it was a cell phone. But even this had at least some good quality to it.
I don't
picture
know.
quality.
I don't know.
But this, oh.
I'll have to see if I can find a trailer on like YouTube or something. I'm now very curious.
I mean, I don't even know what the story was. That's how forgettable it was. I mean, at least 5G Zombies had John Walker's short film.
Yeah. I asked them not to do that stuff anymore because it's when you have people walking out on their porch and they're like, "Oh my God, Las Vegas is invaded with zombies and it's on fire," and there's no fire and there's no zombies and there's no nothing. It's just traffic. It's like, okay, this is not good. You could even grab like some cheap effect off of YouTube and throw a building on fire. I mean, yeah, no, I can't. I just can't with that. I think if Wild Eye even had like a sale and that was like $5, I don't think I would buy it. Maybe $3, maybe $3.
$3,
maybe $3. But maybe then I'd still have to think about it.
Still have to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, his later entries in the pandemic series were pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed Ebola Rex.
Own it, but I haven't seen it.
What was the other one? Arachnado?
I know of it, but yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. It got better after a little while.
Have you seen was it Predator? The I'm blinking. I can think of the Apex Predator or Apex Predators. I think maybe it has an S.
Yeah, we reviewed it on.
Yes, we did. Yes. That was awful. Yes.
I mean, it was Jaws without sharks.
It didn't have sharks. That had stock footage.
It was stock footage, but
not even a fake fin in a bathtub. I mean, or in a swimming pool or something. I mean, geez.
Give us something, man. Give us something.
All right. So this is going into a whole other subject here. So, all right. So, anything else? Because we are way past time.
We're way past time. The zombies are coming. I'm telling you.
One day they will. I'm absolutely certain of it. So, I'm positive.
The government is conspiring against us.
They are. I'm waiting for QAnon to pop up with that, you know, saying that there'll be the zombie apocalypse of, you know.
You know that John F. Kennedy's son will be resurrected from the grave, and that's what will cause the zombie apocalypse.
So stupid, so stupid. They went to Texas for John F. Kennedy Jr. or just John Kennedy Jr. I mean, it's like he died in a plane crash in the ocean. His dad was killed in Texas, dumbasses. Whatever. All right, man. This is going to be a long one. So, if we got nothing else, then I'm going to sign off. What do you think? This is a good one. It went by fast.
I'm good, man. Good.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So this will be out this week at some point, and I thank everybody for watching, and yeah, and then Donna will come up with something for next month. So, and then we'll be back. So, I guess that's it. So, bye everybody. Bye.
See you, everybody.
Bye.